Hello everyone, this is a drawing of a mother blue jay and baby blue jay that I just finished, and I really was getting the values correct, but without getting too dark on the baby, because I noticed that when I use colored pencils or watercolor pencils to paint in, it can be too black. So what I'm using today is Derwent Inktense pencils, and they're like watercolor pencils, only they use ink. It uses ink instead of watercolor, so the color is richer and denser right off the bat. And the difference between ink and watercolor is ink stains the paper. It's made usually from more of a chemical, so it goes straight into the paper and you can't move it around afterwards. It's not light, it's very heavy, it's kind of a dense color, so you have to be very careful with any ink. Watercolor you can tend to lighten up, move around a bit even after it's dry. Ink is just not the same. So I'm just going to use use an ink, and these are Dr. P.H. Martin's inks because I don't have a big enough set of colored pencils to get the turquoise that I want. So the turquoise that I want from Dr. P.H. Martin's is a beautiful deep turquoise, and so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to wet the area that I want to put it on with just a little water. As you can see, just get it just a little bit wet, and I don't want a whole lot on there, so I'm going to try and take just a tiny bit of color off the top and drop it in. As you can see, it kind of bleeds down a little bit. I think that's plenty of color. I don't want it to be too shocking up there, but this blue jay's color tends to shift from a real turquoise at the tips to more of a blue further in. So there we go, there's that little bit. And it's also very turquoise right back here. So I'm going to drop in a tiny bit of turquoise. Actually, let's get some water on there first so that it's not too dense. I'm just going to get a little bit of turquoise here and here, here and here and here. And I think this piece was very turquoise on this bird. All right, teeny little bit off the dropper. Is that enough? Probably. And just on the tips of these feathers right here. Not too dense, as I'm still going to use a little bit of colored pencil, the Inktense pencils for most of the color. It's just, I can't seem to quite find it bright enough. All right, I think that's good. Just kind of see if I can't blend that a little bit. No, usually once it's there, it's there. Okay, well anyway. Now, over to the colored pencils. I'm using Inktense's Iris Blue and Bright Blue. They're the only decent blues I have. I've ordered more, but they're not coming for a while. And this particular piece is going to be donated to the Plum Creek online art auction to raise funds for their events. So I'm following photographs and using photos of these birds, various photos, to color them. So here our birds have beautiful, this is literally the most turquoise color that I have in my set. So this is going to be kind of a lighter blue here, very lightly, just very lightly coloring that. Okay, good enough. And there's a little bit of blue going on in here, and he's got a little bit of, or she's got a little bit of blue under her chin. And a lot of blue back here. And I'm just, as you can see, I'm not pressing hard, it's just, I'm using very little bit of color just around each feather, getting a little stronger. It's amazing what this Inktense can do. You should see. It's fabulous. In fact, I'm going to show you right now. So I've just wet my paintbrush. I often use one of these when I'm just doing my little light work because it already has water inside it. but I want to use a real paintbrush. Give me a better tip, a better control. These are the best paintbrushes under the sun. So look, just looks like a kind of bare colored pencil there. And then I'm gonna pull that color out. Too much water. Keep my paper towel more handy. So what's gonna hold this drawing together really is this piece together really is the pencil. I'm just kind of supplementing it with this color. Isn't it great how that works? Look at that. Oh, it's wonderful. Now when the color gets too rich, because it just ends up like too strong, I'll just put a little bit of water in it. Back to water in my brush, and gives it a softer feel. There we go. Again, it's ink. Once it's on there for good. Can't move it. All right, now I'm smoothing it out, hopefully. Okay. She has a little color under her chin. See how much color that pops? Quite a bit of color there, doesn't it? Yep. Giving a little color up in here. Although she's kind of mostly gray up there. And a bit more water on my brush for back here. I want this to be softer, so I'm wetting it first with water and then moving into the color. And what that does is that helps the color to gradually, carefully, more softly move into the wet areas. There we go, better. And here we have more of the feathers. Can't really even see where the feathers are now. Oh well. That's a good start. All right. I think we are going to give it a little bit more color up here. Not quite enough. It's great that you can just go back and just add more. Yep, I'm gonna pull that in a little bit more. A bit darker. This is kind of a nice turquoise colored pencil, but just not bright enough for me. Okay. Using a different color, a slightly darker color now, just to pull some feather definition through. Find the individual ones. Well, I lost the ones that were marked on there, but that's okay. And because the paper is wet, it's really taking that color like a sponge. Put more on there than I wanted. Oh well, it's fine. Next, I'm gonna pull some of the darker blue color into these areas. These are darker blue feathers. Easy peasy, huh? And these Inktense pencils aren't that expensive at all. I used to never buy art supplies like this because I didn't have the money. Thank God I do now. And I can play to my heart's content. Look at that, isn't that lovely? How the color just pulls through. Put a little water here, make it softer. There we go. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm gonna put a little kind of a golden color under here. She's in the shade, but she's, let's see. And, well, maybe I'll color. I'll color a little bit, very, very lightly. And you realize that blue, its complementary is yellow, orangey yellow, like a golden color. And when I use the word complementary, I mean they complement each other so much that when those two colors are near each other, used heavily in the same picture, complementary colors sing. That's what they say. So I'm putting this kind of this, it's actually supposed to be more like a golden brown color, but you'll see it's more orangey when I wet it. Where's my paintbrush? So I wet my brush again, and I'm gonna put water on above this and draw the color softly into it. So I'm just gonna wet this above, see that? Just water. And I'm gonna move slowly into where I had put the colored pencil, the colored Inktense pencils. Look at that color pop out, isn't that crazy? Now we know they're not yellow. Blue jays are not yellow. So I may have put too much color in there to be considered a shadow. So what I'm gonna have to do is dab it to see if I can't pick up some of that color. And if I can't, I'm gonna have to change that color slightly. So that is just a bit too much yellow for me. So we're gonna have to change that color so that it looks more of a shadow color. It pops a bit too much. You would think that is not a blue jay with all that yellow on it. So, drawing that color out. If we want to change that yellow to more of a gray, like a blue shade, we're going to use another color on top of it. So to turn yellow to a blue shade, we probably want to, red's gonna make it more orange. I think we're just gonna have to add kind of a blue-gray. So we'll try, I have a charcoal gray. We'll see if that works. I'm gonna actually take my brush with some water on it and do this. Now I always play on the side of my paper. I'll show you. I kind of use the top up here as a, where I mess with my paintbrush. So let's see, I think that'll work. Just kind of tone down a bit of that yellow quite so much. Knock it off a little bit. That's probably fine. But what I want to do now really is take some indigo, which is a very dark blue, and kind of now go back and make it look more like it's a shadow. I think indigo works better. I think we can pull that off better. There we go. Just I was afraid it was going to make it look a little green. Oh well, it might. It might. Okay. Pulling some indigo here again. I think that's okay. For her tail. I'm going to wet this whole area. I'm not going to fuss with her tail feathers at all. I'm not going to acknowledge they're there. So really all I'm going to do is sweep them out so that you don't focus on her tail. Come on. Okay. That works. That works. A bit more here. We can pull that off? Okay. A bit too yellow still, but oh well. Looks like a shadow enough. Any other color on this mama? Well, I think I wanted her eyes to be kind of more of a brown color. So, although her iris is black, it's in her eyes essentially black, I'm just going to give it a little bit of kind of a brown color on the top. And her beak might have a little bit of brown on it. Dark brown. What do you think? Is that pulling it off? I think that's working. Kind of working. Yep, I think that's working. Give her a tiny bit of brown around her eyes too, just to give that a little color. Okay. sometimes it's easier just to wipe the tiny bit off the colored pencil like that than it is to try and draw with it and get the color on too strong. There you go. How easy is that? Cool. That works. All right. Not going to fix too much with the feet. I could make them a bit darker, but I really like that indigo color now. Just to do a few more feathers with it. So I think we'll just do a few feathers with it. There we go. Come on. There we are. That's kind of fun. Really kind of using it like paint, aren't I? All right. And that charcoal gray, I noticed her line of feathers under here really is kind of more black than anything else. So let's just give her a bit more definition. This pencil isn't quite dark enough down there. Okay. Good. I think that's good. Okay. What my favorite part about this picture is, from the photo I used, is that little pink open mouth. Oh my gosh, it is just the pinkest, cutest little mouth. So I've been kind of dying to paint that. And I don't have a real nice pink for my Inktense colored pencils. I ordered some. So, but what I do have is I have a fuchsia and a poppy red. I think the poppy red is going to be too red. Let's see what our chili red looks like. Nope. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't look so bad. Okay, let's try this. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's going to be okay. Yep. So this color here, this is the one I want to use. Fuchsia red, or fuchsia rather. And its little mouth, its entire thing is pink. Just love it. In fact, it's even slightly pink on the outside right in here. So I'm just gonna do a teeny weeny bit right there. But it's very pink in here. Oop, and I could really be careful with this because it looks, oof, that's almost nothing, isn't it? That's almost nothing, but watch, it's gonna really show up. I'm gonna wet this first up here so I can draw the color up. Okay, oop, there goes the pink. And we wanna leave the edge of the beak white. Dude, that's quite strong, isn't it? Okay, there it is. And a little bit out here. And there was a little tiny bit here. Come on. I want a teeny bit there. Trying to get it off the pencil. I think that'll work. Cool. Not quite the pink I was looking for, but oops, there's a bit too much yellow. Oh well. That'll be fine. That works out fine. So we're going to use the indigo blue. Charcoal. I'm going to get a little bit of this just to do his beak. I'm doing it with a paintbrush just because it's hard to lay down that if I'm trying to catch the color from getting too strong. There you go. Just pull that out. Look at that. Isn't that cute little baby? He's so cute. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. This baby's so adorable. Okay, and this little indigo blue here. Just kind of pull it out a little bit. All right. We can do a little bit in there and see how strong that gets. It's probably fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's really more of a black, that part. Okay. I give it a little bit of a royal blue out there too. There we go. Up there. Okay. So he's got very bright patches. This is kind of a dirty blue here, or like a indigo blue here, and then these feathers are really bright turquoise, and these front ones kind of have slight bright to them. So I'm gonna do what I did for Mama, and I'm going to wet these with a little bit of water and then use a little tiny bit of this just for the really bright spots, because we want to have a couple bright spots. Really pump up that volume. I'm all about pumping up that volume, both music and color, always, always, definitely, always. Okay, so going to take a tiny bit off of here, and that's too strong. Okay, there we go. Tucking up those feathers way up underneath. It's always darker on the top where there's a little shadow overshadowing from the one below it. Isn't this color awesome? Dude, this color's just awesome. Okay, and we're also going to do a little bit of that on this side. No, I'm not putting water ahead of time on here. Perhaps I'll regret this. Okay. That's good. I'm gonna color. And I'm just gonna have fun because these are beautiful bright blue. Okay. These are actually a darker blue, so I'm gonna kind of use this down here. Switch to more of the royal, it's called bright blue, but it's not that bright. As you can see, I'm just gonna color them in. Color, color, color. Very lightly. Kind of going over all my pencil areas. And we'll get a little blue on these. But essentially, that's more of that indigo color. Alright, working one wing at a time. And actually that indigo color is more like out here as well. And just a little bit of this darker black. Okay. Got water on my paintbrush. So I'm really, how easy is this? Just take water, clear water here, and just drag it out. Look, isn't that cute? flipping it out for feathers. In different directions. Oh, look how fuzzy. Cute baby. And these are fuzzy feathers up here. They're very fluffy. I don't know how I can make them look fluffier. I may have to go back and with a pencil and just define some of those areas a bit better so that the feathers stick out from one another so they don't all blend into one another. I'm blending up so that most of the dense color ends up being up underneath the feathers so that you can see there's a shadow. And this is kind of turning out darker than I wanted it, but oh well. Can't control it at this point. It's done. Too late. Okay, now I'm going to drag a tiny bit of color out to the rest of the feather edge. So take the darker, most of the darker ink in here, get the feather form, fit the feather perfectly done, and then wipe over the outer edge of it. There we go. I may even go back over with that with the turquoise because it does kind of leap off the page in the photos. The color is just beautiful and like iridescent. The long feathers just on their edges. Okay, this kind of works. Hopefully. I'm just kind of scooping it out right now because it doesn't matter if I define each of those well or not. You know, not really, not at all. So my turquoise one, you know, I just really love that turquoise, that juniper. This is Dr. P.H. Martin's actual ink, and when I get the rest of my Inktense pencils next week, I'm gonna have a gorgeous range of turquoise and brighter blues than I do right now, so that's pretty cool. Okay, there we go. Just get enough turquoise on those edges, but this is not quite enough blue for me, so darken it up a little bit. Let's give it more definition. There we go. More color. Because I'm all about more color. Wow, I can hardly see those feathers in there. That works. Kinda, right? Hopefully, maybe. Cool. Okay. I'm not gonna fuss too much more with it. All right. Ooh. You can't even see that, can you? Because I didn't have it in the right spot. I was just darkening up this here a little bit to make it pop. Okay, all right. Good. I think it pops enough. And now we do the other wings over here. And I'm really just gonna give them a tiny bit of color, because as soon as I wet them, it will pull that ink through. colors. Got more of the rich color for the ends. Does that work? That works. Use more of the lighter color first and just wet it. Look how easy that pulls in, huh? I think it's kind of fun to do a drawing first and then color it like this. Alright, obviously I'm not being very careful with it, and I'm not being perfectionistic with it, and I don't care to be. So, the older I get, the looser my paintings. It's just fine. So let's put a little bit of that indigo, which is kind of a blue-gray color. We're just going to give him a little bit of blue-gray color right under his chin, down here in his chest, so he doesn't look plain. We can even do a tiny bit of that under his chin here. There, I think he's working. And we better give him a little bit of same shade colors we did for Mama, but obviously I overdid that yellowy color, so I'm going to wet his belly first. There, he would be in the shade. I'm going to just wet him. Then I'm going to take a very little bit of this. Instead of coloring it directly on, it's really a strong yellow. There we go. That's much lighter. That's much better. See, I'm just taking a little bit. That's not nearly as strong. Wish I'd done Mama like that, but because I didn't, now I'm going to make him look the same. Take a little bit of that blue-gray color, indigo, and give him some shade with the blue-gray. Love indigo, it's one of my favorite colors. And I'm just taking my brush and just giving him some fluffiness. Okay, cool, cool, is he good? He's getting there, he's almost done, isn't he? I think he's done. Not quite sure. Oh, pretty close to being done. I might play with them a little bit more later. Mama's got a very defined line here, so I'm going to take that defined line away and give her more of a consistent blue. Spread the love. Spread it out a little bit more. Let's just give her a little bit of kickiness up there, shall we? Kick it a little bit. And I just had to wet my brush again. It was sticking out. Just give her a little bit more blue there. Yeah, I'm just afraid of drawing within getting too much on there. There you go. I think that's good. Does she look done? Kinda. simulate kind of feathers out here off her head. Grab a tidier head because it's a bit messy looking. Kind of like mine right now. There we go. Well, baby needs a bit more yellow belly because it's way different than mama's. So I'm gonna have to go back and add a bit more of that yellow belly so that's not so different from mama's. Just means there's more of a golden evening or a morning light. What do you think? I think it just must mean there's more of a morning light. Give it a bit of color around here. I like that. And we didn't color this part, so this section is kind of gray in the photos of the baby, so we use the deep indigo again. Instead of coloring it with pencil, I'm just gonna take it right off. That's good. All right. Is he done? I think kind of. Yeah, I think kind of. So all I'm gonna do now is gonna work on the branch that they're sitting on, because I think I am okay with the way these are. So let's get the deep charcoal gray, because I actually have a couple of lines across here. You know, those beautiful bars that go across their feathers. Should put some across here. Okay, and that's good. I'll take a pencil, do some of these feathers. Just to add some feather lines on them. Little details like this always make a much more interesting picture to me. I mean, not everyone cares about doing details, you know? But I really do, because I find it fascinating to look at pictures where there's a lot of these little details. And you know, we never did color this little bugger right here. I'm thinking, because his mouth is pink, he probably ought to be a different color so that it stands out, but it does look like some kind of fat worm or something, doesn't it? Let's see. Kind of want to do a bright yellow, but maybe have it be slightly pink too. Not quite sure. I think. Is that better color? Probably. Wish I'd done baby's mouth that color. There we go. There. I think he's cute. I think he came out all right. There we go. I think he's fine. You know what? I'm just going to call it good because I'm done fussing with trying to make it perfect. I did have Mama's eye, a little brown in Mama's eye, and I ought to have a little brown in baby's eye. Other than that, I'm going to work on the branch and call it good. I'll let you know what it looks like when it's all done.